Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Brunel Business School Postgraduate Program webinar. Today we will be talking about the latest addition to the Brunel Business School programs called the MSc in Business Intelligence and Social Media. And we have with us today Professor Ray Hackney and Dr. Chris Evans. Both of them are involved in this program and will answer some of your questions. Please, I encourage audience to post questions to us. We will read them out and make sure that they get answered during the program. So at any point you have a question, do post them to us. What you can see in front of you on the slides that I'm showing is an aerial picture of Brunel University, where this program takes place. Brunel University is based in west of London on a self-contained campus, including student accommodation and various facilities, restaurants, bars, sports clubs, doctor surgery shops, and so on. So it's a very lovely campus to study on. We have approximately 15,000 students on a number of programs in this university. And this is the picture of the business school, which is the latest addition to Brunel University, a lovely building where we are actually broadcasting this webinar from. So welcome, Ray.
Good morning, welcome.
And Chris.
Hi.
I will ask you some of the questions about the program that students may have, those who are considering starting with us, indeed this September or January. So we're running 2 intakes on that program. Ray, first question over to you. Can you give me an idea of what you do in the program as a course director?
Thank you, Joanna. Well, this is a multidisciplinary program. It's designed to enable students to study new social media, business intelligence, cloud services, which I think most people are aware of the forefront of business and management operations generally, both nationally and internationally. The idea is to prepare students for career in business and management and move beyond the IT sector by gaining technical skills. We often talk about students who need technical competence and business confidence in these specific areas. And we've developed this program because there is a role for new web technologies which play in today's organizations the ability to transform business generally.
Mm-hmm. So as a course director, is this what you oversee on the program?
Well, as course director, it's a term that's generally used for to look after the health of the program, coordinate the various modules which are delivered, and to support colleagues where possible through my own experience and so on.
And who is this program for?
The program is designed for people who want a career at the cutting edge of business developments, with a background in business, exposure to new technology, modern communications, business operations, and especially, of course, as we know from experience with social media generally, business on the web. The issue with social media, of course, is it generates an enormous amount of data and information. And if we can harness that information through business intelligence, then obviously businesses potentially would perform a lot better.
I have seen the really good presentation put together by Dr. Chris Evans here about what social media really is and why is it important for business. Because there's a lot of people still out there who believe that Facebook is just a social tool and what has it got to do with business. Chris, could you maybe elaborate a little bit about the connection between social media and business? Why these two together?
Thank you, Joanna. I think everyone recognises the importance of social media. In our last poll, 95% of our first-year undergraduate students were on Facebook. So everyone knows that social media is important. The important thing for us is not the social relations, but the impact that it's had on businesses. And social media is an example of a disruptive technology. What that means is it's a game changer. and most importantly, it's a game changer for businesses. So now no longer can you behave in the old-fashioned way by setting up a website and hoping people will read it and then buy your products. Now you have to connect with your potential customers, with your audience, and you have to do that through social media. So it's a completely different way of operating, and it's something that's going to make a big difference to the success or failure of businesses in the next decade.
So would somebody who comes on this program learn how to use different social media platforms for business?
I think a lot of people are probably familiar with some of the key social media platforms. Facebook I've mentioned, an increasing number of people are getting onto Twitter and so on. So it's not about learning to use the technologies. We assume that you can do that in your own time. It's about the front end and the back end of the technologies in terms of business applications. So what does that mean? That means that it's about how can you exploit, as a manager, how could you exploit something like Facebook in order to increase your customer base, or in order to keep people informed about your products. So that's the front end of it, and the back end of it is if you connect with lots of different people, you can collect lots of data about the things that they're interested in, the people they connect with, and so on. And that can help you market your products and develop your products. So it's about what you do with all the data that you might potentially collect. We collect more data through social media than we ever collected before. In the past, you'd be talking about how many hits you had on your website, and that's about it. With social media, we can hone in on a lot more detail about the kinds of things that people are interested in. And we need to find ways to mine that information in order to exploit it to make our businesses more successful.
So that's the term business intelligence part of the program now.
Absolutely. Business
that's what it's understood by.
Is the back end of things.
Yes.
And the social media is more the front end.
And cloud computing, what is that about? Because not many people may be familiar with this term.
Yeah, it's a very popular concept at the moment, but not many people know what it means. Cloud computing just means that instead of storing information on local devices, I save my Word documents on my hard disk, instead they're stored somewhere on the internet. And when we say somewhere on the internet, we don't need to specify where that is, and it's distributed over the internet in the cloud. That's what the cloud is. And you can access the cloud from anywhere, whatever your device is, whether you're using a tablet, whether you're using a PC, a laptop, whether you're using your smartphone, you can access that, and you can access it from wherever you are. And so the idea is that if you put information on the cloud, then it's accessible to you like never before. And lots of companies are adopting cloud services, either to make their information more readily available or to offer cloud services to potential clients. I guess the original example would be things like Amazon. Amazon stores its data on a collection of computers in various different places in such a way that if one of the computers fails, it doesn't matter because the information is distributed around different places. So you don't lose your data or lose information about your order. The cloud services provide some level of security.
So what are the typical learning activities on the program?
So there are a number of different courses covering both of these aspects I've described. Myself, I'm involved in one of the first term courses on social media. We'll be looking at how, as you asked right at the beginning, how you can take something like Twitter or Facebook and exploit it from a business perspective. There are other courses that will be looking at how you can collect the data and analyse that data to provide an intelligent picture of the customer base.
Mm-hmm. And we mentioned on the slide that our listeners are seeing in front of them that teaching on this program is done with and through social media. What does that mean?
Well, we have quite a history in the business school at Brunel University in adopting social media for teaching. We've been using Twitter and Facebook for some time. So the idea of it, I suppose, was to use some of the modern technologies that everyone is familiar with to connect with each other, to provide access to educational resources and to allow people to communicate outside the classroom. We know that a large percentage of learning occurs not within a a 1 hour lecture slot that actually occurs between the lectures. So we wanted a mechanism by which we could connect tutors with students, and students with students, and students with resources in between lectures to facilitate the learning process. Something that will help people to learn when they want, when they need, and how they need.
Mm-hmm. And Ray, could you tell us a little bit more about the typical academic activities that students will take as part of this program?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is a master's program in a UK university, so there are quite a few intellectual challenges associated with the course. The modules themselves will address analytical and critical thinking in particular. I mean, students will be expected to demonstrate an ability to analyse, critique, compare, evaluate, synthesise, to apply ideas and concepts and theories, way beyond just reiterating facts, and to show evidence of real critical learning in the whole process. The learning activities themselves are very well developed, so we have a lot of experience of doing this, and of course assessment forms part of that. Assessment will be through various assignments, and I think occasionally there may be an exam involved, but don't let that deter you too much. It's well structured, and of course it culminates in a very exciting dissertation at the end of the program, towards the end of the program, where you can go away and collect original data and demonstrate skills and competencies in appropriate technologies. As Chris has already said, the great value of this program being that it's new, it's innovative, and it's all to do with being able to exploit the data, the information, the knowledge, if you like, which is contained within social media activities, and to harness that knowledge towards supporting and developing the business plans and the business operational and strategic objectives generally.
This area of that you just mentioned seemed to me to be contained within the marketing aspect of the business. So are we saying that the program is only for marketeers, or is it open to other level managers and other area managers?
No, it's way beyond just a marketing effort. I mean, that's the front end that Chris described earlier. The opportunity to analyse all this proliferation, an enormous amount of data and information which is generated through social media, and to be able to manipulate, to analyse, to use that data to develop enhanced products and services which can be developed and then sold. I mean, to put it quite bluntly, the bottom line of the whole programme and the reason there's so much interest in social media is that there's a huge potential for businesses to make money.
From social media, that's the ROI of social media.
Absolutely.
Now, we have focused in this program on consultancy and entrepreneurship. Why these two particular aspects or areas are important in this field? Is it because businesses, for example, have not yet caught up with how much revenue can be generated through business intelligence and social media, and that's why this works best on a consultancy level? Or is this a particular skill that would be very valuable to those people who wish to work as consultants to businesses? Anyone?
I think it's Vivish.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most exciting programs that we've got in the business school, because it's about a changing marketplace. The world that exists now is very different from the world that existed 5 years ago, and it's going to carry on changing very, very rapidly. And lots of companies have got to get to grips with the impact that social media is going to have on their business. So part of the idea of the program is to put people in a position where they're acquainted with the possibilities, which directions things could move in. It will put them in a position where they can act as consultants. It will also put them in very good positions if they want to set up their own businesses and be entrepreneurial. What's exciting about the program, I think, is because it's a changing marketplace, nothing is fixed. So what we're going to have to do on this program is going to be keep ourselves up to date with a moving landscape, a changing landscape. So you can't take a book off the shelf from 20 years ago and go through the standard things about social media because it didn't exist then. And what social media means now is not going to be what social media means in 5 years' time. So it's a very exciting, evolving program. I think that is something that would attract me if I was in that position.
One of the big opportunities of exploiting social media, of course, is for organisations to become more innovative and to enable employees within the organisation to be creative and so on. You need entrepreneurial skills, and these are also included in the programme. There's a whole package here of saying we want intelligent people who can analyse and determine the best use of this new media, this new technologies, and to exploit it to potentially huge business demand.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And in terms of who are we looking for this program, what type of student could benefit most from this program? Is it only those who already have high technical knowledge?
No, far from it. I mean, as I said earlier, it's not just technical competence, it's business competence as well. We're looking for hard-working, intelligent people. Certainly the opportunity to maximise student employability provided by this programme is extremely high. We anticipate that graduates of this MSc will be significantly in demand.
Because there will be such specialists in the area where there's not that much competition within the job market.
I would describe it, sorry, I didn't mean to contradict you at all, I wouldn't describe it too much as specialism. It's actually more generalist than that, because the use of social media is so common. It's so prolific within organisations. It's a generalised opportunity now within many large organisations and in smaller organisations as well to exploit these new technologies. Mm-hmm. It's multidisciplinary.
Yes. And can I ask you, when the students complete the top part of the program and move on to their final project, the dissertation, where they undertake certain research, what kind of research do students look forward to as part of this program?
Well, a dissertation is essentially self-planned, self-directed activity, supervised by an individual tutor. It continues to develop the skills in business intelligence, social media, for problem solving, and it forms what is a recognised academic dissertation, which would involve looking at the literature, identifying a particular context of study. People might be interested in, say, the health service or public sector or financial services. The choice is entirely yours. Some methodology for collecting empirical data is quite important to analyse it and to determine findings from it. So the dissertation itself, or the project itself, is task-orientated. It involves contact with outside the university, an opportunity to engage with practitioners in highly complex organisations, and generally to formulate a stimulating learning environment which is eventually developed into a formal document which forms part of the programme and is examined accordingly.
Mm-hmm. We have some questions coming in from some of our listeners. One of them is, could you suggest some recommended reading material to prepare for the course in the coming months?
Gosh, that's a good question. There are a countless number of books coming out looking at social media. So the kinds of things I would direct people are things that mention the concept of disruptive technologies. I mentioned earlier that social media is an example of a game changer. It's something that changes the landscape. So they want to look at things that talk about disruptive technologies in general. There are lots of new texts coming out. There's also lots of course, very interesting research publications, and that's the kind of thing that students will want to look at for their dissertations. I also think that one of the things that people can look at is the growing area of business intelligence and the way in which data can be exploited. captured through social media. And I guess the history of this, it goes back to things like Moore's Crossing the Chasm, a very famous book that looked at the development of new technology. Social media is a new technology, and technologies have a life cycle. It's very interesting to see how social media unfolded in their life cycle. It's very early days, and that's why, of course, it's so relevant and exciting, I think. But looking at how new technologies impact upon society helps you understand how social media in particular can make a difference to modern business.
That's very true, Chris. And what is interesting from this excellent question, of course, is the fact that the books become very dated very, very quickly. And you need lots of material which is web-based. Now, interestingly, and I wouldn't normally suggest this, in last Tuesday's Daily Mail, there was a supplement on social media development in the UK, globally. It's absolutely excellent. If you can get a copy of the Daily Mail of a few days ago, you'd be surprised. It surprised me. The level of content that was in that supplement was absolutely excellent. And I have a copy. If anybody wants to get hold, if you can't get hold of this, just get in touch with Joanna, and I'll be happy to send you a copy.
Are there any other magazines, professional magazines or academic journals that students could try to get hold of in preparation for this program?
As I say, I think the core, the activity at this stage is not to think solely traditionally as books. We've moved on a long way from books. And web-based material, doing searches on the web, social media, business intelligence, knowledge management, innovation, these are where the big advances will be. It's moving so quickly that I imagine that, and Chris will agree with me on this, if someone who starts a program in September 2013 will be doing something totally different than someone starting it in 2014.
But I think that's the beauty of that program. It will be ever-changing, but right. It must be difficult for you as those who have to deliver that program. We have another question. I'm hoping one of you will be able to answer. In terms of the business intelligence side, what specific data collection or CRM systems will students be using or learning about in the course?
Well, business intelligence is a very big area, of course, and it's to do with the positive impact of systems and data within those systems for decision making. It's not necessarily related just to customer relationship management, as I said earlier to Joanna. It's not just about marketing, but CRM could form a part of this. It depends on the organisation, it depends on the context, it depends on the strategy of the organisation, what business intelligence they would wish to collect and exploit accordingly. But certainly throughout the programme, the flexibility, the dynamics, the innovation that's within the curriculum, and the opportunity within the dissertation at the end, there's more scope than you can imagine to study business intelligence in an area in which you are interested.
How approachable will the academics be on the program itself? We obviously have active researchers, quite senior colleagues here, and students would be coming from different parts of the world where perhaps interaction with their lecturers is not the same here. Chris, you mentioned using social media. I think that's fairly accessible, and actually you have been recently awarded a prize for innovative teaching. So it seems that the students are recognizing your input to the program. How would you be able to comment, how approachable are you and other lecturers on that course for those students who may need extra help or clarification or perhaps that daily mail supplement?
We're very busy academics. The idea of the program is to make us more accessible to students doing this course than we might have been in the past, by allowing people to communicate with us outside of scheduled teaching sessions. So you'll be able to contact your course leaders, your module leaders, your tutors, not just in the lecture or seminar, but you'll be able to contact them between those hours. in a sense, your tutors are going to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that you can ask questions, typically using Twitter. I'm not guaranteeing they're going to reply to them immediately, but the idea is that we can respond to questions that occur outside the classroom. And I think that makes it a much more accessible course than the other courses. It also, from the lecturer's point of view, is a much more efficient use of our time, because we can reflect on questions that people are asking and can communicate answers to them through a technology like Twitter. And we know that everyone on the course is going to receive that answer. We don't have to repeat it for each individual that knocks on our doors, so to speak. So it's a more efficient means of communication, and it's more flexible from the learner's point of view, because you can ask your questions when you think of them, where you think of them. And if you're in a position where you're an overseas student, perhaps for some periods of time you have to go back overseas, it's a great way that you can keep in touch with your tutor without physically being present at Brunel.
Thank you for this, Chris. We've had a question about what about the social media ban in China, and how would that course apply to Chinese students, for example?
Brunel, of course, is world famous for its multicultural dynamics, if you like. We're very, very used to international students. We accommodate them extremely well. We have many students from the Middle East, and indeed we have many students from China. From my personal experience, the modules that I teach on, the Chinese students have had no difficulty whatsoever in identifying organizations for exploiting social media. Obviously, within world economies, there are different political situations, but our prime objective is to provide a good, solid education and to enable people to go back to their own countries and to benefit from this program quite considerably.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much, Ray and Chris. Our listeners can see on their screens the social media of the school. These are some of the channels where you will be able to post further questions, but you can also see their contact details for our inquiries desk, and indeed direct contact for Ray for those of you who are very interested in joining this program in the coming months. If we have no further questions at this point, then I would like to thank everyone who attended or who listened to the webinar online, and we look forward to welcoming all of you in the next intake for this particular program. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna.
Thank you very much.